Welcome to my show. I am a guest here. Her name is Alison Bladh. Alison, how are you doing, ma?
I'm doing really well. Yeah, really well. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
All right, thank you so much, ma. Firstly, I want to go to your background. You are an award-winning registered nutritional therapy, beauty therapist. You have BSc in that area. You have MBNT too. We also have MCNHC with MNWTF. So those are the qualifications you have under the therapist area, ma. And you had a career in the health and beauty industry for over 30 years. You are also a British woman, and you're keen. You are also keen. You have this hobby of being a screwdriver, golfer, hiker, beekeeper, and you like enjoy outdoor like the way I am now. Can you please walk us through your journey? What inspired you in the first place, and how you are doing currently now, ma?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, what inspired me? I mean, as you said, I specifically work with women's health, women over 40, so 40 plus, going through the menopause. Well, all the different stages of menopause, and my journey really started when I was quite young, as a teenager, because I had very bad skin. I had acne. The teenage years are difficult enough, aren't they, without having bad skin. So I started from a very young age to look into hormones, to really understand what was going on in my skin, because I didn't just want to take medication. So that was my trigger into hormones, and I've just found them so interesting. So because of my interest in the skin, I trained to be an esthetician initially, working with women's skin health. And the clients that I attracted were specifically women going through the menopause, because that can really affect your skin. I very soon came to realize that so many, underlying health conditions are shown in the skin. And it wasn't enough just with aesthetic treatments. You really need to think about nutrition. You need to think about what you're eating, you need to think about your lifestyle. So that's when I went back to university and studied nutritional science. Um, but I also remember, as I was growing up, my mother, all the women that's all age were really suffering, because it's something we don't talk about. And it's a huge hormonal shift in a woman's life. And it needs to be spoken about, because there's so many things that you can do. So, I've really want to get this message out to women that you don't need to suffer. If you're going through that phase in your life, ask for help and support.
All right, thank you so much, ma. And I want to go to a place that catch up in your, about you. You have a mission, which I'll read. You said you are passionate about empowering women globally to reclaim their health during the menopause transition through realistic evidence-based nutrition, mindset, and lifestyle modification. Can you talk more about that, ma?
Yeah, so as a nutritional therapist, I work using something called the functional medicine model. And this is really where you look at the whole person. So you look, for example, we say that this person is suffering from migraines. You wouldn't just think, okay, what can I do to get rid of that migraine? You would look at the whole body. What is causing that problem? Is it to do with digestion? Is it to do with leaky gut? Is it to do with what the person's eating? There's so many reasons for these symptoms. So that's the model that I work with, using nutrition that's individually tailored to that specific person. It's not about restriction. It's all about adding in delicious foods that nourish the body, because food is just so powerful in our health. And then I look at lifestyle, so looking at people's lifestyle, looking at things that they could maybe change, habit change to improve the way that they're feeling. And then mindset, because that actually comes into it as well, is how we embrace life. If you're constantly feeling negative and down all the time, that affects your health. And this is shown in studies that people that have more of a negative outlook on life will suffer from stress, and it affects the body, it affects the hormones, it affects everything. So having to have more of a positive mindset, which of course I understand isn't always easy, is it, to have a positive mindset? But I work very individually with clients. I have private clients, and then I also have online programs that live programs that I run throughout the year, where we work with groups of women that are specifically 40 plus. It's called the 21-day reboot and reset, and it's amazing results. And this is all about really changing the way that we think about what we're eating, and eating delicious, nourishing meals, and getting rid of all the processed food and sugar and things that aren't beneficial for you, particularly for women as we age.
All right, ma. I also want to dive more in that area, ma. Where do you think they can find this program you are doing? Is it on YouTube? Is it on your website or when?
My program, the 21-day reboot, yes, that the program is, if you sign up for it, it's live sessions, but not obviously everybody can see those sessions, so everything's recorded, and then you can look and you can watch them afterwards. But it's a 21-day set program, which is you've got me for those 21 days, and it's really looking at all different areas: nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, habit change, how to embrace a low sugar lifestyle, and all of these things. So you've got those tools when you've done the 21 days to move forward and thrive in life. And it works. I've had many ladies that feel fabulous after doing it. And if you think 21 days isn't actually that long, is it? On the scale of things, it's not really, 3 weeks to change the way that you feel completely is really nothing.
All right, thank you so much, ma. Ma, I want to dive into the area of diets. How do you think diet influence these symptoms in the menopausal, like mood swings, when your mood swings, things like that? How do you think diet influences, ma?
Yeah, diet it's has a huge influence on how we feel. And the thing what we have to remember when we come into menopause is 3 different phases, and it starts on average the age of 45. This is what we call perimenopause. So this is the first stage where things start to get unbalanced. Then we have menopause. And then all the time after that is really post-menopause, which is the rest of a woman's life. But what we need to be thinking about with nutrients, nutrition, this is shown in studies as well, that eating a diet with processed, refined, products that are high in sugar, high in damaged fats, isn't beneficial. I mean, it's not beneficial for your overall health, but looking at the menopause, it has an effect on symptoms. It can make, if you've got high sugar diet, it can make things like hot flashes worse. A lot of women find that they gain weight around the tummy area during menopause. And if you're eating a lot of sugar, if you're packaged foods, it just makes this worse, because you basically can't get away with what you did when you were younger. As you age, you have to look at portion control. You have to look at what you're eating, and eating protein, eating healthy fats, eating carbohydrates predominantly from vegetables and whole grains is really what you want to have on your plate. So getting rid of all the sugar and the processed and the refined foods will make your transition, through this phase in your life a lot easier. It's difficult because the whole food environment that we live in today is this processed, like junk food, is everywhere. So, I mean, I really appreciate it's not easy, but you have to make that decision that you are not going to eat those sort of foods. You're going to buy real food and make food at home. And it doesn't have to be complicated, really doesn't.
All right, Ma. Thank you so much, Ma. I would like to ask during menopause in women, I would like to ask, is there any diet that you think is more beneficial to them during those times?
One style of eating is the Mediterranean style diet, and this in all research almost always comes out top as a very sustainable and realistic way to eat. And you don't have to. A lot of people say, "Well, I don't live near the Mediterranean," but that doesn't matter. It's just that the style of eating and it what it basically is just what I said. It's eating whole foods. The Mediterranean style diet is based on fruits, vegetables, predominantly fish and seafood, very little red meat. They do eat red meat, but very little, like poultry, white meat, legumes, beans, healthy fats, olive oil, avocados, nuts and seeds, and, carbohydrates, whole grains, all of those things. None of the processed, very little sugar, um, proper whole food. And that style of eating is a very sustainable, easy, healthy way to eat, and it helps during the menopause transition because you're eating and nourishing your body with all the nutrients that it needs. You're not buying packaged food that a lot of this really processed food has very little nutrition in it. We weren't, as human beings, we weren't supposed to be eating those sorts of foods. Our body wants nourishing foods. We really need to cook at home.
Thank you so much, Ma. And I would like to ask about some women. They might be, during the menopause time, they might be gaining a lot of weight. Can you just say any diet that they should change? There might be some food that could, reverse that issue they're having when it comes to gaining weight.
Yeah, weight gain. That's a really big thing for women during menopause because it all of a sudden just creeps up on you, and it's predominantly around the tummy area. And even if you're eating the same, you're exercising, you're doing everything that you normally do, it just comes all of a sudden. And there's so many different factors into why this is. We as we age, our metabolism slows down, which obviously can add to weight gain. We can't eat the same amount of food as we ate when we were 20 and 30. So you have to really look at portion control. And then when you lose, you estrogen, progesterone, these hormones as we go into menopause and we have a decline in these hormones, that affects weight distribution. So you kind of, what I say is you go from a pear shape more to an apple. You collect the weight around the tummy area. What you really should be thinking about for weight management, obviously this is a huge subject and you could talk about it for hours, but one very good piece of advice is to work on blood sugar balance. You don't want to be eating foods that spike your blood sugar because as women, when we age, we have a higher risk of being what we call insulin resistant. And the next stage on for insulin resistance is diabetes too. So we have to make sure the foods that we're eating don't shoot your blood sugar up. And what do I mean by that? It's again, getting rid of all the refined carbohydrates, all the processed foods that contain a lot of sugar. Because when you eat, say for example, you eat a muffin or a bagel or white bread, that is very easily digested by your body, and it will go into your circulation and shoot your blood sugar up quite quickly. your body secretes insulin, which is a hormone that allows the energy or the glucose or the sugar, whatever you want to call it, into the cell. But as we age, you can become resistant to insulin. So it's kind of like the cell doesn't react to it anymore, which, if it's not allowing the energy to go in, it increases your blood sugar. And this can be detrimental for many things, but weight. Because if you've got high insulin levels, blood sugar levels, you will store fat. And you store fat predominantly around the middle area. So working on blood sugar, eating fiber, eating whole foods, and eating in balance is very important. Having protein, having fat, having whole grain carbohydrates with every meal to really, work on that nice, even blood sugar balance. But weight gain, there's so many factors in weight gain. I mean, another thing that you should really think about working on that not many people think of is stress. When I work with clients that weight loss is their goal, we work on stress almost first thing, because if you're constantly stressed, you will store fat because of the stress hormone, but in particular cortisol. So you really have to look at managing your stress levels also in weight management. Cook from home, buy whole ingredients, and think about reducing, the refined carbohydrates, the carbohydrates that affect your blood sugar. Getting rid of processed refined foods will be very beneficial for weight management. And I think weight management, it's shown also in studies that these quick fix diets, like crash diets, they don't work long term because they're not sustainable. If you're starving yourself, basically, it's not something that you can do over a long period of time. Whereas eating like the Mediterranean style diet, eating whole foods, is sustainable. And it might take you a while to lose the weight, but you will keep it off.
All right, thank you so much, man. Now I know that there are some food, someone must not be eating too much. It could cause a lot of damage. Thank you so much, man. And I want to just go to this point of vitamin D, calcium, all those mix, something like that, all those type of things. Does it help women that are already in the stage of menopause area? Does it help them or it does not?
Yeah, I mean, vitamins like calcium and vitamin D are very important for us in general. But what happens with women as we go into menopause? And menopause is the phase where, your body isn't producing estrogen and progesterone anymore. Your ovary function has stopped. Um, and we need estrogen for bone health. So women, once they've gone into menopause and they're in postmenopause, they can be at higher risk of osteoporosis. So we have to look after our bones, and that, calcium, as we know, is important for bone health, and vitamin D. So looking at, eating foods that are rich in these vitamins, things like green leafy vegetables have got calcium in. Dairy products are a good source of calcium. Vitamin D can be quite tricky to get because it's not in that many food sources, and especially if you live in a climate where it's dark a lot of the time. In the winter, where I live in northern Europe, where there really isn't very much sun in the winter, because your body produces vitamin D through sunlight. So you really need, or you may want to think about taking a supplement of vitamin D if you live in those climates, because you just can't, your body can't produce enough of it due to the lack of sunlight. But yeah, D and calcium are very important for menopausal women. I mean, vitamin D is so important for many things, but in particular, bone health and keeping our bones strong.
All right, ma. Okay, let me just ask one last question, ma. I want to go to the sleep issue. Some women that are into the menopausal area, they might be having issue with sleeping, maybe because of pain. I don't know, but what do you think they can do, ma?
Yeah, sleep, it can really affect you. This is a very common symptom of menopause and the transition and the decline in hormones. The most common thing is that women wake up, you wake up 2, 3 in the morning and you're just lying there awake. Uh, it also can be due to night sweats, progesterone. It's kind of like the thermostat of your body goes all haywire, uh, and you can have like hot flashes. But a combination of that and not being able to sleep, it affects your every part of your life, doesn't it? If you can't sleep, things to do for sleep, there are many things that you should do, but one of the best things that I see is really working on sleep hygiene. So looking at what do you do in the couple of hours before you go to bed? Are you constantly on social media? Are you like working away on your screen? Are you watching something on television? Because what that does, it stimulates you. So when you go to bed, your brain is all wired and it's difficult to fall asleep. So that's one thing, really trying to have a routine in the evenings that's relaxing. So even if it's just an hour before you go to bed, turn off all technology. Go and talk to your family members. You know, just read a book. You don't have to do anything in particular. It's just something relaxing. Things like meditation can be beneficial for sleep. And then thinking about, what you're eating before you go to bed. Try to leave a few hours before going to bed. Don't eat just as you're going to bed, and don't drink a lot of fluid either, because that will get you up to go to the toilet in the night. Thinking about having a cool room, opening your window if you can, having a dark room, very important to help you sleep. And really just unwinding and relaxing before you go to bed. Some of the herbal teas that you can drink, like chamomile tea, is very relaxing, and that can have an effect on sleep. And then, I mean, the research says that if you need to get sunlight in the morning, because that helps your circadian rhythm, your sleep rhythm. So, really trying to get outside in the morning to get that sunlight can actually be beneficial, for your sleep as well. But there's so many things, and it's very individual, what works for you. But it's having, purposely having a routine in the evenings that you do. That really can benefit your sleep. But I think one of the worst things for sleep in today's society is all the technology, because we're just constantly stimulated. Our brain never has a chance to relax.
All right, thank you so much, ma. And lastly, do you have any advice you want to give to the menopausal women? Is there any advice, ma?
What I would like to say to any ladies that are going through the menopause is that you don't have to do this alone. It's a totally natural phase that every woman will go through, but you don't, menopause is a natural phase, but suffering isn't. And there's so many things that you can do that can really, really help. So, reach out, get support, and know what you need to do to thrive through this next phase of your life. Because we're living much longer, aren't we, as women? We're living when we come into postmenopause, it's like 30 plus years. So it's very important we understand the health and what we need to do to stay healthy during this time. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
All right, now. Thank you so much, ma. And normally, there's a question I normally ask from the forefathers, from the ancestors. If there is anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing would be, ma?
If sorry, I didn't hear that. Is there anything I'd like to
Bring back to our time from the forefathers and the ancestors, ma.
what I'd like to bring from our ancestors?
Yes, ma.
Um, yeah, good question. In relation to menopause.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm answering this question correctly, but an interesting thing about menopause when we think of the whole menopause process and evolution, it's been an area that women have always gone through. Of course, it's a natural phase, and there's always this big question of, well, why do we have the menopause? The We still don't understand, but one of the theories that was very interesting is, that as human beings, and as we age, we should be there in the communities to look after the children, of our children, so they can then go out and work and prosperous and look after us. So nature's fantastic, isn't it? There is a reason for everything. So women in different cultures in the world, in today's society, I think it's fascinating that some cultures where menopause is looked up to, women that have gone through the menopause in certain cultures are looked up to, and regarded as the wise, the older people. And these women don't really, in general, suffer from the menopausal symptoms that women do in the Western world, because menopause is looked upon as a positive thing. You're older, you're wiser, you're now in charge of the village, you're going to look after everybody. Whereas in the Western world, it's shrouded by negativity, and women tend to suffer a lot more through the symptoms. So it's interesting. If that answered your question.
Sure, 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 sure. It will continue to remain a question. Why is that happening? But I want to appreciate you, ma, Miss Allison, sorry. Mrs. Allison, for your time,
It's okay.
for the little patience. I want to say thank you so much, ma.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's been lovely talking to you.
Bye.